I pull out a prosthetic leg.
No way.
Yeah, I got it in my hand. I come out and I'm just like, yeehaw! Like, oh, I'm so happy, right? I found this prosthetic leg. And
hello and welcome to the Finding Idaho podcast, where we dive into the Boise area real estate market. We bring in small businesses and just like to talk about Idaho life in general. Today we have Rocky Detwiler with us. How are you, Rocky?
Fantastic. I'm doing great. Thank you. Yeah.
So this guy is deemed the River Robin Hood here. He has a business here of just going and collecting stuff that people have lost in the river or other bodies of water around here and retrieving it for them. Before we get into that, just real quick, for anybody that doesn't know, I just want to talk a little bit about floating the Boise River. That's a huge thing going on right now. Talk to us a little bit about the float season and kind of what it looks like to float the river in general.
Okay, I can. I spent a lot of time in the river. I'm in the river probably more than most people. Pretty easily, I'd say 4 or 5 days a week, maybe more. And the float season usually starts sometime end of June. Just depends on, the season and the weather and, enough water and all that. So this year it was pre-4th of July. So there were quite a few people that float down. And on any given day, if like when I'm in a river, I'll watch 500 more people float by me in the matter of 20 minutes or something time I'm in a specific part of the river. So there are thousands of people that float that river every day. Yeah. So
pretty amazing.
For me, it's, I don't know if it's a business. It's kind of a service, but and it kind of turned out that way. It wasn't something that I thought that I would continue to keep doing. And actually the media gave me the River Robin Hood name. I didn't come up with that myself.
Nice.
Yeah. It's actually a very cool story.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick before we get into that, because I want to hear that.
Okay.
So with the floating the river, the Boise River, what's the typical coming in and pull out spots?
Okay, people actually go to Barber Park, so they park there. They can bring their own tubes, their own rafts, whatever their float device is if they choose to float, which most people do. And they start there, so they launch at Barber Park, and then they get out at Ann Morrison Park, which is a 2.5, 3 hour float, depending on how many times you stop, where you stop, or if you float all the way through. Sure. Yeah, several miles.
And a pretty easy float for the most part, right?
Yeah. I just talked to a lady today that wasn't too good for her, but she kind of got off to the side. And, it's a river, right? So there are rapids and there's a current and and so anyway, she got into a kind of a scary situation with her kids, and she's like, but the Boise River, and so she got kind of scared a little bit. But for the most part, it's a pretty safe river, I would say, and very fun, family friendly river to float for sure. Yeah. 3 rapids or 3 waterfalls, if you even want to call them that, which kind of adds to the drama, excitement of floating the river. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so tell us a little bit about River Robin Hood. How did this start? How did you get the name? What's going on there?
Yeah, for those that are listening, River Robin Hood is really just a name that was given to me by the media. And I've been a diver and a swimmer, a snorkeler for 40 years. I'm 52, so actually longer than that. Since I was a little boy, I've always been in the water. And I grew up in Jerome, so I grew up in ditches and canals and ponds that were dirty, and to me a waterway is kind of cool, and I've always enjoyed the water and always had my head under the water. And so some people prefer being above. I'm actually very safe and content being under the water.
Yes. And
for me, the Boise's pretty amazing. I've been here I grew up, so I'm an Idahoan. For those that are listening, I was born and raised in Idaho. Love it, by the way. I did spend a few years in Arizona, but I got to tell you, I'm happy to be back, and I've been back since 2009.
Okay.
So, anyway, so I'm floating the river one day or diving the river, and I happen to see something at the Park Center area, and it's a place I kind of like to go. It's a little dangerous because down below is an old tree stump, and so it tends to gather debris in that area. It's probably 5 feet below the water, and then another 6 feet below that is this stump that has debris. So it's fairly dangerous if you get down there. Anyways, I snorkel that area because, there's cool stuff that you can find down there, flasks and shirts and towels and, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So anyways, I dive down there and I can't believe what I'm seeing. There's like no way. I go back up to the top, I grab a breath of air, and I go back down, and of course I just have to position myself right, because now I'm going to be fighting a current which is going to drop me right into this debris, right, which is just not a safe place to be. Anyways, I pull out a prosthetic leg.
No way.
Yeah, I got it in my hand. I come out and I'm just like, yeehaw! Like, oh, I was so happy, right? I found this prosthetic leg. And anyway, so I got this on video and swim across the river, and this dude's like, no way, dude. And I got the whole thing on video. So I don't honestly know what to do with this. This is kind of like before I started doing videos. Well, actually, it was before I had River Robin Hood, right? I just kind of was videoing a few things. And, yeah, I didn't honestly know all that stuff. And so I go home and I'm like, I've got this prosthetic leg with the shoe and the sock still on it.
Right.
And I take it into the dining room, and my wife's gone. She comes back. She's like, what is that leg doing in the room? I'm like, babe, I don't know, but it's so cool, right? I mean, this is like the coolest thing ever. Yeah. So I don't know, a week or two goes by, and I'm mid-July, and all of a sudden it just like hits me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to find the owner.
Right.
So I tracked down
somebody out there without their
somebody
leg.
out there lost their leg, right? So I mean, hopefully the dude's local or gal or whoever, right? And so I tracked down a prosthetic leg company, and they're like, it's not ours, but we need to get the serial number off. I'm like, okay. So I bring it in, and they find out who it is, and I kind of got that on video too, right? Me, showing up with this prosthetic leg, and they're like, you found what in the river? And I'm like, a prosthetic leg? Like, no way, I've never heard of that. So I go in, and anyways, they find the guy who lost this leg. And I'm like, and they're like, we'll have him call you. And I said, that sounds good to me. So he calls, and I record that too. And now I've got the guy, and I think, okay, this is kind of a story worthy, like this could be a cool story. So I call Channel 7. I say, hey, I just, are you interested in kind of a cool story? Yeah, what do you got? Well, I found a prosthetic leg in the river. You found what? And they're like, wow, that sounds cool. We're going to call you back. Well, they never called me back. So I called Channel 6. And I called Channel 6 and I said, hey, I think a kind of a cool story I'd love to share with you. Yeah, what do you got? He says, well, I'm diving the river. I'm a diver, and I find this prosthetic leg. You found what? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, hey, we got to get in touch. So they get their guy. He's like, you found a prosthetic leg? You got to be kidding me. Like, dude, I want to do that story. So I call, the guy that has this missing the leg, and Steve, who did this story on me. We meet down at the location where I lost the leg. So Steve he meets all of us and videos the whole thing. And he says, so when it airs, you can see him, and he's got, I've lost my keys, I've lost my wallet. And when you lose something in the Boise River or in the river, you don't get it back. But there's this guy. And I pop out of the water, and he is the River Robin Hood. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest name.
That's awesome.
So that's how I became the River Robin Hood, by finding a prosthetic leg.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, some cool stories. So the next year, I'm literally going to the dive shop, and I get a message on Messenger, hey, reach out to Rocky. And I had formulated, no, I hadn't formulated it yet. I reach out to this guy. He can go find it for you. A kid, 22 years old, loses his prosthetic leg in the river a year later.
No way.
A totally different dude.
What are the chances?
I know, right? So I jam down to the Boise River. I get, through Messenger, I get these people to call me. The mom calls me. I then get on the phone with him. And, when you lose something in the river, you got to give me specifics.
Right.
Meaning, like, I'm 5 feet off the shore. I'm 15 feet this way. I mean, like, otherwise you get in the river and you're not going to find it. It's just current's going to take it, whatever. So he does a great job of giving me he's about 20 feet down from the Friendship Bridge, 20 feet off of shore, right, basically in the middle of the river. And I'm like, okay, I know where it's at. I took one pass. and I didn't see it. Next pass, I see it. I dive down, I get it, I come out. I'm just like war whooping and so excited. And anyways, I got my second prosthetic leg. So he shows up at the bridge, and by this time, Channel 7 has been notified. Channel 6 has been notified. I mean, like the whole city of Boise is unaware that this young man has lost his prosthetic leg, and I just happen to be the guy to find it.
Right.
So, an hour or two shows up. He shows up, and he's like on crutches. He just lost it the day before. Amazing story.
Wow.
Okay, for you that are listening, this is a cool story. One of the coolest stories ever. So a year previous, he's in a car wreck, loses his leg. He waits 11 months to get his prosthetic leg. He gets his leg. He goes. Then he goes to the Boise River a week later.
Oh,
this is that week.
Oh, man.
Loses his leg in the river and has like a panic attack on the side of the river, freaking out, screaming, yelling. My friend Doug was floating, just happened to be floating with him and witnessed that. He said it was one of the scariest things he ever saw in his life. He freaked out because this kid's like, nobody could go get it. So thank goodness I was able to find it. He showed up. Channel 7's there. Channel 6 showed up, and I became 7's hero that day for finding the river, and a couple of us, and it wasn't just me, but anyway. So it's kind of this cool thing. And they called me the River Robin Hood, and so before they launched it, I decided I'm going to do a Facebook so people like know where to go to find their lost items. And as that happened, I thought, there's kind of a service here that I could help people go find their gear, their stuff, their watches, their phones, their prosthetic legs, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. So that's kind of how that happened. And I love doing it. In fact, when I get done here, I'm going to go I'm looking for 2 different phones, and this girl lost her necklace, which is an heirloom.
Oh,
yeah, in the river. So quite honestly, I don't always find everything. There's just no possible way, because once that item hits the river, if it's in a current, the river's going to take it. The current's going to take it. And so,
at least for a while.
Yeah, for a while. I mean, it could be 5 feet, 50 feet, 500 feet.
Yeah.
This leg floated. He jumped off the red bridge, and it floated all the way down, around one corner, around another corner, and was somewhere at the Park Center area. So if you know that area, we're talking half, 3/4 of a mile, floating around currents and stumps and water. That's a long ways for a prosthetic leg that's 2 feet long, 2.5 feet long to float. Yeah.
Wow. Especially because those aren't light typically either.
No.
So
they're steel and metal and all kinds of stuff in them. But that's amazing that it went that way. So someone loses their phone and it hits the current. It doesn't always drop. Now, like yesterday, right? So yesterday a lady calls me. She had 4 phones and their car keys in a bag.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man. They hit this... so they come around the corner from Barber Park, and they're about 300, 400 yards down, and they hit not a stump, but a stick that's out in the water and launches them off. And so from the time she fell to the time it dropped is 25 feet.
Right.
It didn't just like drop right down right there. It went 25 more feet. So last night I pack in I have a tank, so a scuba tank. I have a 35-pound dumbbell, right, and of course my gear, right, and I got it. I'm in the water. I'm at the bottom of the river, and the current's like bouncing me off at the bottom of the river. Bam, bam. I'm holding on to this 35-pound dumbbell. I'm trying to just like stay on the bottom of the river. Because if you don't, it'll just take you down, and you won't see nothing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I was able to make one. I mean, I was still floating pretty fast. I saw one bag. And I didn't see hers the first time, so I forced my way out of the river. I go back up another 50 feet. I get back in again. I see it again, and I grab both of them. And it was her bag and all these phones and the keys, and another bag with another phone.
Oh, no.
Dude, so for me, I found 2 prosthetic legs, and this was like the coolest, one of the most expensive estimated finds I've ever found, like $6,500 plus, somewhere in there, estimated value.
Wow. So that was actually going to be one of my questions. Well, two of my questions I feel like you've answered already. because I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, I want to ask him what's the craziest thing he's ever found.
Yeah.
And value-wise, what's the most expensive find. And I would assume that the legs, you haven't found anything crazier than a prosthetic leg, have you?
Okay, so no, I have not. I found it. Okay, we were up at the South Fork of the Boise River about 3-4 years ago, and I'm again floating the river. I'm always diving. If there's a water source, I'm in it. I'm in the water.
Love it.
Yeah, and so I'm in the water, and I happen to find an iWatch off this place people dive off or jump off of, and it's like you don't just jump in and there it is. It's like easy to get. No, you got to fight for it in a lot of cases because you're dealing with the current, right? And if it's down 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 feet, like it's impossible to get on your first. You got to go back, figure out where it was, get down there deeper, and then hopefully you went past it, right? So anyways, I found this iWatch. I come out of the water, and these people were like, "Oh, dude, did you see the truck in the water?" And I'm like, what? Where? And it's up past the hot springs, and it's right in that area. And I'm thinking, I'm out of the water as fast as I can go. I grab my sweet wife, and so we're driving up the highway to find, I know where the hot springs are. And now we're literally traversing the side of the river to hunt down this truck that's supposedly in the river. Because if there's a truck, there's got to be cool stuff in there, right?
Of course.
So there's these kids across the river, and I'm like, hey, have you guys seen a truck in the river? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, where? Right here. I'm like, what? No way. So we drive all the way around, go back the other side, hike down this ravine. It's probably a 50-foot ravine, and we're able to get down. And sure that the truck was on all 4 tires in the middle of a river, created its own eddy.
I bet.
Dude, and so I jump out there, and anyways, I found some cool stuff.
I bet.
Yeah, cash and equipment and cool things and whatever it was, whoever it was, right, left it there. It just was left there.
Crazy.
And I was the first one to, I guess, decide. I don't know. We don't know how long it was there. A week, 2 weeks. We're not really sure, but it's about 8 feet under the water to the hood, and then it's another, however 10 feet down to the bottom. So yeah, it was quite an adventure pulling some cool stuff out. And the next year it was gone, but it was there for the entire season. But the cool, one of the cool, of course, the coolest thing I think is, when you think about estimated value about what you could pull out of a river, outside of phones and necklaces, let's just say you found, somebody's really expensive, diamond ring.
Right.
What would an estimated value be, right? 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 grand, maybe, right? So, I found 2 prosthetic. I don't know how you get more value, one item more value in a river. I just don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Well, and some of those things, you think about a prosthetic leg, obviously there's the, financial aspect of that value, but that's what kind of intrinsic value is there for that person?
More than anything
huge.
else, because it's like, we got into this discussion with someone else. It's like it's their body. It's part of them. You don't get any more personal than someone's leg they lost. There's nothing more personal.
Well, and it takes so much time and energy. And, aside from the money, it takes
11 months. It took this young man to get a leg. 11 months, and then he loses it. So that's why he's so frantic.
That's huge.
Yeah. That's huge.
Awesome,
that was that was such a blessing to be able to find that for him and to be part of that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this as the River Robin Hood now?
Well, Steve came up with the River Robin Hood, I think in 2000, maybe 18. Yeah, 17 or 18. So however long that is, 4 years. 4 years. 4 or 5 years. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I was diving way before that, but when he got it on the media, he just thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Right.
And because this is a guy who floats, right? He floats the river, he floats South Fork, and he's lost items in the river,
right?
And he's never got them back. So he has a personal relationship, if you will, with the river, but he's lost stuff and never got it back.
Sure.
And here's a guy that found a part of another person, a leg, and gave it back. He thought this is the coolest story ever. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So that's where the River Robin Hood came from. What a unique name to have.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So I own it now.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel and a Facebook page, and that came from that. So here's kind of a cool story. So I'm in the river one day, and this is I mean, I actually been diving longer than this dude's been alive. But this young man, he's in the river one day, and I'm finding some seriously cool stuff. And he's towing like a what are the, not a raft, but like you sit in it. It's a one person, paddle.
Like a paddle board?
No.
A
kayak, a kayak. Yeah, he's in a kayak, right? And he's throwing his stuff in a kayak, right? And he's got some decent stuff in there. And I'm like, and he's videoing himself, and I'm like, hey man, what's up? He's like, yeah, just kind of out doing my thing, kind of video. You do video? Oh yeah, this is one of the things I do. And I'm like, no, like, what do you do? He's like, I'm kind of a full-time YouTuber. I just sold my business and I do it full-time. I'm like, no kidding. I'm like, what? Wow, I've never met nobody like, because I'm diving all the time.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, this is what I do. And I was doing this in the river, and then I transitioned over to, he'll do like cook things in the river. He'll find items and he cooks them alongside the river, right? And so that's kind of his show. And he's got like 1 million plus followers now. When I met him, he had about 100,000.
Wow!
And yeah, he's grown and just the coolest guy in the world. Anyway, so that day I went home and I got my phone and I started with my phone. That was I started with an underwater camera, right? Oh yeah. And I'm like, okay, this can't work because I got to use my hands, right? Because I'm at the bottom of the river. I'm using my hands on rocks and stumps and all kinds of stuff to get across. I've kind of figured it out. So I got to have them free. So then I went to headsets, and I'm all professional now.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So you've got a YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
That's under River Robin Hood.
Right.
And then a Facebook page.
Yep.
Any other social media stuff that you're...
that's it right now. Okay. I mean, I posted on my personal page, which I think is Rocky Detwiler. We had to change that for a couple of things we're doing, but that's mainly where people can find me. It's not really huge.
You as Rocky, I
guess. Yeah, no, my real name's Rocky, actually. Okay. Or my real name's Robert, but I go by Rocky.
Okay.
And so that's, media, what I do in my professional life, most people go by Rocky.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So this is kind of a side thing, if you will, and it's a ton of fun. And I actually was really close just pre-COVID to almost getting on. Oh, it was some national show because I pitched them. Oh my gosh, that's a really cool show. So I'm thinking about pitching maybe a national TV show just to kind of let them know what we've done. I think I'm probably the only guy in the world that found 2 prosthetic legs.
Yeah, I guess.
It's so much fun. It's great.
Crazy.
Yeah, you just never know, right? Like, essentially, I'm a treasure hunter, right? And so any body of water that I'm in, no matter where it's at, like, for example, we were just in Miami. So we went down there, and so I'm the only, there are thousands of people down there, right?
Sure.
On the day that we're pedaling South Beach, and there's a pier at the end of South Beach in Miami.
Right.
Well, dude, I'm thinking I'm going to go get it. So because that side is kind of the south side of the pier is where all the boats come in. So you don't want to swim out there, but I don't swim out there. I'm going to swim underneath the pier where people are standing and dropping stuff off. So I'm thinking I'm going to find some glasses or something. I found a phone.
Nice.
Found a phone. So I don't know where it came from. Somebody drops their phone off the South Pier in Miami, and I happen to find it. So, if there's water, I'm in it and going to go find something.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
So people around here,
yep.
If they, because you live here in Boise,
yes,
right?
Yep.
So if people lose stuff in the body of water here,
right?
How do they get a hold of you? What do they do?
I'm the easiest guy in the world to find, right? You just Google Rocky Detwiler, and I own the first several pages, right?
Yes.
I'm not hiding. And then I have River Robin Hood. People track down my phone number. They text me, they message me, and I'm the fastest guy I know to respond. I'm just really quick and really good at communicating. And so, over the past, and I was gone. We were gone rafting for the past week, just got back Saturday and had some people hit me up and I'm like, hey, I'll be back. And when I got back and, I'm in the water on Sunday. I went looking for, a couple different items yesterday. I'm going to go down today and I've got 3 people that I'm going to be looking for 2 phones and a, heirloom necklace.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's so much fun.
Cool.
It's fun because part of it's the adventure of being in the water, hunting for things that are difficult to get to. Most of the time they are, right? Unless you're in some calm part of the river, some snorkeler probably is going to nail it, right? Or get to it. But there's, when you're in deeper water, that's, unless you're a diver, you're not going to see it.
Right.
Snorkelers are going to go right past it. So I'm a diver. I'm going down in the deepest parts of the river and I'm going to hunt stuff.
Sure.
Down. Yeah.
So as far as the Boise River is concerned, how deep does it get?
Yeah, great question. I'm always looking for the deepest part of the river. So there are a couple places on the Boise that I'm guesstimating, a pretty good guesstimator, anywhere between 15 and 17 feet. One's underneath, you wouldn't float it. Well, yeah, people have floated, but it's the train tracks where some of the kids jump off of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then they climb up to the top and jump off, and that's like, 60 feet-ish.
Yeah.
Probably jump into that. So that water there is probably 15, 17-ish feet, depends on the river level. But that's a deep spot right there. And the current's not too horrible. I've dove there and found some cool stuff. Oh, by the way, this is really strange, but not strange. But I probably have 10 towels. And dude, they're so cool.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not just cheesy. They're cool beach towels that people have lost. I own them now. Yeah, they're so great. All these big beach towels, they're like small blankets. Yeah, I find those in the river and I pull them right out and we wash them up. And I don't know, we probably have 10 of those, but
nice.
Yeah, and it's just not always about collecting. I mean, there's times when I'm down there and several spots where various things like clothes and cans accumulate. Dude, I'm throwing that stuff out of the river, up on the bank, just getting it out of the river a lot of the times. Whenever I can, I do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Super helpful too to just get as much out of that as we can.
Yeah, and there's most of the if it's flowing right, it's not going to accumulate. But there are a couple of places where it does, and so sometimes I find some cool stuff in there, glasses or whatever. I probably have 150 pair of glasses.
Wow,
it's so weird. I kind of have a hard time throwing glasses away. But you know what I do have is I probably have 10 right now. I probably have 10 glasses that are prescription.
Oh,
it's like I wish I could find the owners, right?
Sure.
I have also eye watches, probably 5 or 6 eye watches.
Wow.
I have 4 or 5 phones. So again, for everybody listening, okay, first thing is don't take that stuff to the river, right? I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't need phones and car keys and leave it in your vehicle.
Then.
Yeah, and this is what I said to my family. Listen, you don't need that stuff on the river ever. If you can lose it or it's important, don't take it ever. You don't need it. Oh, it's in a waterproof bag. No, I'm telling you, I have found the items in a waterproof bag and they're not waterproof.
Right.
Okay. Just don't take it. You don't need it at the river. Leave it in the car. Okay, that's the first thing. And if you do lose it in the river, here's what I'd say. To those people who have, any type of device, so watches or phones, put your medical ID in there. Okay, so if please do that, right? That way, if you lose it, people can't access any of your information, but they can access your medical ID and get that back to you.
Sure.
So I mean, I got these phones. I don't know how to
password protected. So
it is. There's no way. That's the only thing that you could access, and that's in fact. That phone I found yesterday, I'm diving looking for these other 4 phones, and I found hers, and she only had her name.
Oh,
her name. She didn't have a phone number, so I tracked her down on Facebook. I've probably tracked down 4 or 5 people just like that.
Wow.
That have their name on Facebook. That's really the way I've or a friend, right, or a relative, or sweetie, or honey, or whatever, and I just hunt them down to get them their phone back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, man, that's sounds like so much excitement. I'm excited to go onto your YouTube page.
Thank you.
And I want to jump on there and look at some of those videos and some of the stuff you're doing there too. So,
well, one of the things, Andy, if I could say this, it's why would people go watch River Robin Hood? Well, first of all, I would say I'm fairly professional right now, as I'm just kind of delivering a message and talking about who I am. When I'm in the water and I'm hunting for something, I don't know what it is. I have a doppelganger personality. Okay? Dude, I'm a trip. I really am. I mean, if I were to, I kind of watch me. Even it's so funny when I'm literally putting my videos together. I can rewatch them because I'm so animated. Dude, I talk to myself. I pull off my headset, which has the GoPro on it. I'm literally talking to the GoPro. You guys are not going to believe this, right? And you would think I was a Steve Irwin American guy, right? Talking to myself and the coolest thing. I mean, it's like Christmas when I find anything. It can be a broken pair of just, Oakleys, and I'm like, I thought it's Christmas. Yeah. I just love finding things in the river. Oh, and I talk about it and how fun it is. And so you'll watch me for the entertainment value, really. And I also do my best to give a little bit of, descriptions. Here's the cool part of the river. Check this out. There's an eddy here. But if you know the flow, and I talk, it's interesting in life. Okay, if we just shift for a second, we talk about life. Most people, and this is what I do for a living, is coach. Right, I coach actually high-end individuals that are worth a lot of money and of companies or businesses, and they transitioned over to speaking or training or want to write a book. And so when I coach people, most people, Andy, in life don't realize that the immense amount of skill set and talent that they actually have, right? And it could be in various areas, right? It could be a real estate loan officer. It could be all these different things in life.
Sure.
And people just don't know, that's valuable because you've spent all these years, accumulating this knowledge and effort, and it's worth something.
Right.
And so for me, I have decades, thousands of hours logged in the water and traversing a river or a water system and knowing how it flows and what to watch out for and what to wear and why would I wear these shoes and why would I wear these shorts and this shirt and so many things, right, that I'm doing just almost subconsciously. But there's a reason that I wear that I do this is because I figured it out. Right. And some of that information is valuable to people like my friend Steve's like, dude, I freak out when I get in the water. And people get scared because they don't know what's underneath it.
Right.
That's where I spend my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyways, hopefully that's a little helpful.
I love it.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Thank you. It's been a treat. Cool. I consider it just an honor to be able to come on here, and hopefully it's doing somebody good out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, so guys, we've got the River Robin Hood here. Check him out on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, and subscribe. That'd be cool to grow it somehow.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to give us a subscribe and a like too.
Absolutely. It's
awesome.
For sure.
We want to help this guy out as much as we can, but just nice. Fun stuff, that's going on. And of course, if you lose anything in the Boise River, this is your guy.
Thank you.
Give him a shout, and he'll see what he can do. So. Especially if you lose a leg.
Yeah. I'm looking for an arm these days.
Or a third leg, or an arm. Yeah. You need 2 arms, 2 legs. Yeah, we'll get it.
Any water source, really. I don't specialize in the pond because it's murky and dark, but the rivers the rivers are kind of my playground for the most part. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for the invite.
Rocky. Love it.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you around.
All right, brother. Thank you.